Shalom. I am Rabbi Nathan Davidovich, speaking to you on behalf of the webyeshiva.org, speaking to you from Efrat, Israel. I'm going to talk about this week's Parsha, which is Parsha Vayeitze. In this Parsha, we have the story of Jacob's ladder. And the question I ask is this a stairway to heaven, this ladder, or not? Was Jacob afraid of what happened? So let's talk about a little bit what's going on here. Jacob has just left. Jacob has just left. He's about ready to leave the land of Israel. He's left his home. He was studying for 14 years in the yeshiva of Shem and Aver. And now he's suddenly going out to look for a wife. And the wording of the Parsha is very interesting. It says he came to that place. He came to that place. And the sun had set, so he went to sleep. Of course, that place turned out to be the place where the Holy Temple, the Beis Hamikdash, was ultimately built. And he lay down, he went to sleep, and he had a dream. It says, Vahine Sulam Mutzav Arza. He saw a ladder that was standing on the ground. Roshu Magia Shemaima. The top of the ladder reached all the way to heaven. Vahine Malachi Elohim Olim V'yordim Bo. And he saw angels going up and coming down. And then a few sentences later, he wakes up and he says, Ayira. He was afraid. Vayomer, he said, Ma nora hamakom hazeh. How fearful is this place? So the question is asked, what was he afraid of? And what lessons do we learn from this? There's several different commentaries. First of all, the Midrash Rabbah, Vayikra Rabbah Chavtet 29, quotes a sentence in the prophet Yirmiyahu, which says, Va'ata el tira avdi Yaakov, and you don't fear my servant Jacob. So there's the question of what is meant, what was to be feared. And there's a discussion in the name of Rabbi Meir, and he says that at that time, when he had this dream and he saw the angels going up and going down, God was showing him the various exiles that the Jewish people would go through. Started with the exile of Babylonia, then the Persian exile, then the Greek exile, or where they were ruling over the Jewish people, and then finally the last one, the Roman exile, Edom. And he's showing them that all of these particular dynasties, if you will, all these governments would rise and then ultimately they'd fall. So they go to power, and they'd fall out of power. And Hashem wanted Yaakov to go up this ladder. And Yaakov was afraid. He was afraid because he says, if I go up, I'm going to fall just like all these other kingdoms that you're showing me. And God says, no, don't worry. If you go up, you will not fall. But Yaakov didn't believe this. He didn't believe in himself. And therefore he didn't go up. And because of this, the Medrash says that all of these exiles took place. So what's the story here? Why wasn't Yaakov? He's such a great man. His total devotion was to God all of these years. Why is he not remembering? Why is he being afraid? And the Eitz Yosef, who was a commentary on this midrash, he says, that Yaakov didn't really believe that righteous people in this world could rely on a promise if their own deeds were not good enough, if they had sinned. And it said he didn't believe in himself. He didn't believe in himself, and he didn't believe that because of his sins, he could go up there. So this is a very important lesson. We're taught by this and by this midrash and the interpretation that what is the greatest failure? The greatest failure is not to try. The greatest failure is to not believe in yourself, to have low self-esteem. His low self-esteem prevented him from going up the ladder, climbing the ladder. And that's a message for all of us. There's another interesting comment in the Davidovich Shalom. The Davidovich Shalom looks at it a little different way. And he says that up until this point, where he's seeing the ladder, Yaakov was only dealing in holy matters. And he said everything to him was holy. And now he was faced with the prospect of leaving Eretz Yisrael, leaving the land of Israel, going to now have to leave this realm of holiness and earn a living, find a wife, get involved with the world. So he, in fact, it was as if he put a wall in front of himself, saying, I can't possibly pass over this wall. And the Davidovich Shalom says very beautifully, he says, what does it mean when the Torah is telling us, Hine sulam matzav arza rosh magil shmayim, the bottom of the ladder is on the ground and the head reaches, the top of it reaches the heavens. Tamachavim bazeh laharot lo shetachlis ratzon Hashem hishihude yasok binyani olam hazeh, teaching us that God wants the Jew and really everybody to deal with mundane matters, with the worldly matters, making a living, going to work every day, doing whatever you have to do in a worldly way. Uvetoch zeh, and through this, yimotzei derech eich liot kadosh l'Hashem, you'll find a way to bring holiness and to remain holy to God. He's saying this ladder represents the space within you can go up or go down, but as long as you're in that ladder working at it, you're able to advance. Now the question is, we have a lot of choices in our lives. We can choose to try to put out all of the materiality of this world and sit on an ivory tower, monk-like. The Torah doesn't want that. God doesn't want that of the Jewish people. God wants Jewish people to bring holiness into this world. This ladder can be a stairway. Now, there's an interesting song, that's one of the most popular songs, called The Stairway to Heaven, written by Jimmy Page and Robert Plank in 1970 and performed by Led Zeppelin. And I'm just going to quote a couple of lines from that paragraph. It's amazing how you look at things that are supposedly worldly and they have great messages for us as human beings and as Jews. And it says, there's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold, and she's buying a stairway to heaven. Then it goes on and says, there are two paths you can go by. You can go by two paths, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road that you're on. We all have the opportunity to change the road that we're on. We have the opportunity to climb that ladder, to climb higher and higher till we try to reach the uppermost rung of the ladder. That becomes a real stairway to heaven. We just have to make our choices properly, changing the road that we're on. As the Davidovich Shalom says, make your road one within a boundary of holiness. That's what the Torah is telling us, and that's what we learn from that song. Thank you for listening on behalf of the webyeshiva.org. I wish everybody a wonderful Shabbat and all the best. Shabbat Shalom.